Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us again for the next session here in our retail education. Today, we're talking about retail innovation and how local retailers are breaking pre-pandemic revenue marks. One of the things that I want to kick off actually before we get into the content is a little bit of house rules. So the most important thing is audio. We want you to be able to hear us, and GoToWebinar offers you two options, computer or phone. So please make sure you're using the best one for your system. And ask us questions. This is an open panel. So at the end of the content, we're going to actually have live Q&A for any of our panelists. And hopefully we don't go over time, but if we do, we're happy to address any of the questions via email as well. And the question that we always get is, will there be a recording? Yes, absolutely. If you have to leave early, we are going to send out a recording after this, so you can view it on your own time with your team and take away any of the nuggets that we give out today. So before I get into the content, who is Management One? If you're not familiar with us, thank you for joining. Our purpose is to provide financial security for our people, our clients, and our affiliates. And we do that through merchandise intelligence and educational sessions like these for independent retailers. We operate with a set of core values being generous heart, courage, curiosity, adaptability, commitment, and right here, collaboration. And we've also made a specific commitment to increase racial and ethnic diversity in our company and our network. And we're actually really excited to roll out some of these new programs in the months to come. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. So where do we start here? We actually are putting out our monthly newsletter this week, and we looked at the numbers every month, and we saw that overall, our clients showed an increase of 3.9% in sales revenue versus February 2020, which was interesting because the main effects of COVID really didn't start to take hold until March. So it gave us pause. We thought people are breaking numbers before the pandemic even started hitting. So we started reaching out to some of the clients that were doing best and just asking them, what is it that you're doing? And we tried to get a sense of how people were hitting some of these numbers. And that's what really got us into the idea of putting together this webinar, because retailers are really, they were really struggling over the last 6 to 10 months. And I'm still in awe of the massive change that so many retailers had to go through. And now that we're in 2021, it's not like it's just going to go away, but we have to really focus in on how we're going to move forward in the next 6 to 10 months to make sure that we maintain that momentum. And some of the strategies that we'll talk about today are really helping our clients, and we hope that you can take some of these with you to benefit your business. So let's do a quick recap of what happened in 2020. Obviously, stores were closed, but the consumers didn't really disappear. They just altered their purchasing habits. A lot of the studies that we read show that people, in some cases, were spending more than they did before the pandemic, but they just might not have been spending them with your brand, mainly because there was exposure to new online retailers. So it really eroded that brand loyalty that you worked so hard to develop over the last however long your business has been open. Consumers started convenience of online shopping, and some of the studies that I've seen as well show that some aren't going to return to in-store. So you have to really contend with a fusion of digital versus retail experience. And the final thing is, now the rise in omnichannel, especially with big box stores really attacking this hard, it's going to raise the bar for consumer expectations. And how are independent retailers going to meet that challenge? So let's touch briefly on e-com. It's no surprise that e-com has been eating away at traditional retail for the last 10 years, but it's been a pretty steady clip of about 15 to 17% year over year. But if you look at 2020, that increased by 44% last year, which it's not like it created an issue. It really just adjusted the timeline about 5 years ahead of where it would have already been anyway. So this is not a new problem that retailers need to contend with. It's really something that a lot of retailers just had on the back burner, and now they're really having to put this in the forefront and address it maybe quicker than they would have. And I guess therein lies the problem. With many of our clients, they didn't even have a website to begin with. It was not something that was a main focus of theirs. And now they're being thrust into a world with web technology, new digital channels, augmented reality, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, chatbots, and digital automation. And if you're on Shopify, thousands of apps in the Shopify marketplace, and it can make your head spin. It's like, well, what do I do first? What can I possibly tackle with my limited bandwidth? And that's hopefully what we're going to talk about here today, is how can you focus on what matters to you and what's going to really move the needle for your store, because it's different for everyone. So we brought on some panelists today that are going to address some key specific areas in their business that have helped some of our clients, and some new technology that a lot of our clients haven't adopted yet, but really should look into. But when you're looking at these things, again, you have to look at what moves the needle for you. And Andrew Smith and Gareth Jude put out a great book. I had the pleasure of actually sitting in with Nick as well on a Clubhouse chat with Andrew, and his book, Retail Innovation Reframed, really put it to light for us here. I pulled this quote out of it, and I'm going to paraphrase instead of read the entire thing because it's up on screen. But essentially, it's not really COVID. It's not the internet or the economy or globalization or competition. That isn't your greatest challenge. The challenge is getting the organizational ability to innovate and reframe. It's that inward look into your own business. Do I have the ability to actually make these changes? And what I love about this quote is the second part, where he says that doesn't mean you just throw away all the traditional retail fundamentals that got you where you were before COVID. It just means layering on new technology and new capabilities in order to respond to the changing environment, because there's going to be another COVID. There's going to be another fundamental change in retail in the years to come. So you're going to have to be agile. And we realize with independent retailers that there is a bandwidth. One of the things that I love about independent retail versus big box stores and Amazon and folks of that nature is independent retailers don't have the same red tape. They don't have to get things approved by 8 levels of executives to get things done. So the agility in independent retail is pretty massive. But there are still barriers. Obviously, there are cash barriers. Maybe you don't have the available cash to implement some of these new processes. There's a resource barrier. Maybe you have a team of 1 or 2 people. How can 1 or 2 people run 18 new digital strategies for your business? And then there's the time bandwidth. There's only 24 hours in a day, and you still have to run a retail store and now possibly a website. So all of those things taken into consideration, that's where we start to really figure out ROI for your store. ROI traditionally is more of a functional metric when you're thinking of cash returns, but it doesn't always have to be cash. So when you think of the investment that you're making in a new technology for your store, that investment could be cash, it could be a resource, or it could be time. Pull backwards and think to yourself, what problem am I solving in my business? What resources are required to implement that? And am I really improving a process with my store, or am I just overcomplicating it? Do I need, for example, TikTok videos in my store, or am I just trying to overcomplicate things? What does my audience want? And finally, how impactful will this solution be to my bottom line? Am I going to put 14 hours of work into something that's really going to only move the needle a percentage point? So those are all things that you really have to think about, even in the solutions that we present to you today. What is really going to move the needle in my store? So I wanted to switch it over to Dane Cohen, because this first solution that we're talking about is really all about developing customer relationships. And Dane, I thought you would be best to talk about this because you actually came from the retail space, and customer relationships in menswear was probably the largest factor in the business, I would think.
Yeah, thanks, Nico. And anyone who knows me or has worked with me, knows that I am the biggest advocate for the power of clienteling in retail. And oftentimes the most innovation in clienteling could be a Post-it note, and I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate to that. we're still kind of working with our teams off of binders and notebooks and scattered around post-it notes to really get that client information and keep up with it. So I'm really excited to talk with my friend Nick McHenry today, who has come up with an innovative solution for just that problem. And if you don't know Nick McHenry as the co-founder of One Shop, you may know him for being all over the social media landscape of retail, from his LinkedIn skits or retail kind of insights. And Nick, I jump in and let's hear a little bit about what One Shop is doing in the clienteling space.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. I appreciate that super kind intro. Yeah, so basically for you, those who don't know, One Shop is an all-in-one clienteling and virtual selling platform. So we bring all of your data to your sales associates, your managers' fingertips by integrating with the point of sale and e-commerce to give you a 360-degree view of all your clients at any given time, and then fuel that outreach to help you reach more of your clients on a daily basis, build that connection primarily via text message, but really any form of communication you choose. And then once that connection is made, be able to sell in sort of an e-commerce medium via that text message channel. So usually bringing an e-commerce experience to your existing customers as opposed to a self-serve model where you shop online. But what I really want to talk about today, besides just us, is why you should be reaching out to more of your customers and why this is so important. You want to talk about ROI? With our solution or without, we like to believe we can help you do this. But even if it's not with us, you should be reaching out to more of your customers more often. They want to hear from you. And yeah, that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, so Nick, on that topic, I think that's such an interesting thing because I talk with retailers all the time, and one of the things I always hear is I'm looking for new customers, new business, new customers, new business, that I think sometimes we're overlooking the existing clients that are already loyal to our brand. So how are we going in deeper and getting more juice from the squeeze from those clients?
Yeah, so I'm going to share an interesting statistic with you that almost none of our retail partners ever realize until they get on our platform. So we've had hundreds of millions of dollars in sales go through our platform that we analyze and give you a nice dashboard for. But I like you bring up all the investment and money people spend towards new customers. So traditionally, if you look at the amount of business that an average retailer on our platform, independent retailer, brings in through new business, that dollar amount is actually the same amount as the amount of business that they did not comp from the year before. So let that sink in for a second. So all the money, time, Instagram ads that you spend buying new customers or getting new customers in the door, direct mail, if you had spent that time basically communicating with your customers from the year before and making a great ongoing customer experience, you might actually get some true ROI from those new customers. So essentially, most of our retailers have a leaky bucket where they're spending all this time for new customers just to make up from the sales that they're losing from customers not shopping with them again year in, year out.
Yeah, so just to get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts, because I think a lot of retailers on the call today are going to want to know how One Shop, actually works. If I have a retail store and I'm an owner manager and I have 3 to 4, sales associates or potentially more, how is One Shop working to kind of manage those client relations on a one-to-one level?
Yeah, so we want to do all the work for you. We are retailers. I started on a retail floor, spent thousands of hours on retail floors. We want it to run in the back end with zero work, and the only work on your side is to actually reach out to your customers so you can reach more of them. So we integrate with the point of sale, and then we'll assign the customers based on if you want individual people on your team to own their customers, we'll use an algorithm to assign whose customers are whose, or everybody can share those customers. And then because we have all the data, it's as easy as pulling a list based on what's happening in your store. The newest delivery of ABC brand came and helping to supercharge that communication sort of on a one-to-one basis. We don't like true blast technology of just like, we're on sale, come buy it. We really try to make it super personalized, but use sort of efficiencies in the platform to help you text or email them back to back.
Right, and you bring up a good point there. I think because of some of the innovations in the digital space, communication has become pretty generic, right? We send out email blasts, we send out text blasts, but keeping that personalized and authentic relationship, I mean, that is the big leg up that independent retailers have over the big box chains, right? Or some of the big players, that they know their customers, and not just on a first name, last name basis. They know their child's birthday, they know their favorite color, they know their favorite, some intimate details of their life. And those relationships are what could really build sales, because you know what's happening in the life of your customer and what they're going to need from your store and your services.
And I think it's so easy to just make it like we always do this as retailers, a checkbox of like they left the store, they got a thank you email, awesome, we're good, they were communicated with, they got a great experience. But the value we see is in the depth. It's not necessarily just that one single checkbox I communicated with them. What we say is we're trying to help retailers get a response. And that's what you're trying to do. If you have a spreadsheet and you're texting your customers one by one, you really, all the value comes in them responding back to you with whatever it is. If you say Happy Valentine's Day and they respond back to you saying like, you too, you're now engaged, and everything that follows that is really in the true value of driving them in store and creating a great customer experience. So really it is in that depth, not just the first couple messages.
Yeah, and I think that there's that statistic that's out there that you'll hear a lot, that 80% of your business comes from the 20% of your top customers. Do you think that's something that still holds up?
It 100% does. Once again, back to the numbers that we've digested. I mean, almost all of our retailers, it's scary how accurate that is. It's usually not 20%, to be honest with you. It's usually about, 80% comes from your top, 30, 40%. But the statistic we look a lot at is how many people shop once per year versus how many people shop multiple times per year. And almost always, your customer that shop more than once in a 12-month window will do 80 to 85% of your annual sales. So just even converting some of those one-time shoppers into two-time shoppers, three-time shoppers drives a huge return to your bottom line.
Yeah, I know that something interesting that, I used to do when I was, running retail stores was we'd look at our top clients from, the previous season or the previous, from LY, and we look at someone who was one of our biggest spenders, and we would just realize no one's reached out to them. And so right there, just with that one phone call, you can see sales and that ROI that we're talking about just from one phone call. And that's really, I think, the power of clienteling right there.
But one thing I want to, not to bring like a counterpoint to that, but one thing I want to emphasize here is it's also easy to get locked into our top customers. Like, let's just focus on the top customers and stop there. One of the retailers we work with has this great line saying, our next best customer is already shopping with us. We just don't know who they are. So we really see that value every single day. We onboard retailers all the time who are like, no, just show me my top 10% of customers and I'll reach out to them. That's who drives the business value to my business. But we get notes every single day from people reaching out to somebody who would defy the odds. They spent $25 last December and got reached out to for this new event, and then came in this week and spent $2,000. So it is in those hidden gems. So even though you want to go, deep with your top customers, I want to make sure that you're not forgetting the rest of them. I mean, you don't need to touch everybody, but touching a wider assortment will help you to uncover some of those lost gems.
That's great advice. I'm going to ask something specific on that. So if you have a new customer that comes in, what would be your best advice to retailers to turn that new customer into a loyal brand evangelist?
I believe if you can do 2 follow-on communications to when they shop, you're beating 90% of the market. So we always say, like, every moment you're on a floor with somebody, they're coming in to be a new customer, you're learning things about them. Maybe they're going to dinner that night. Maybe they're going to have a drink with their wife. Maybe they're going to a wedding that weekend. Following up on whatever that next thing is. So thanks for shopping with us. Hope you enjoy the place across the street that you're getting drinks at. And then setting a follow-up to a week later or 2 weeks later to say, hey, how are things? Are you enjoying the dress that you bought from us? You will crush it. Nobody's doing that. The department stores aren't doing that. They're getting some retargeted, shopping cart email as their second communication. If you can do 2 personalized communications, you're really beating the majority of retailers out there.
Yeah, I think that's feeling seen by, a store that you're choosing to spend your money at is a really powerful thing. So I think that's all great advice. And, one of the things I love, and it's, a credo of Management One as well, is that, you and people on your team, they're retailers first. So you have that experience and you're not just coming at it from a technology standpoint per se.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is what helps grow our platform. We get great feedback every day, not just from the owners of the stores, but from the individual people in the weeds on the sales floor that are the front lines working with their customers. And that is what I believe for all of us on the call today, the future of building our own businesses and helping retailers is to learn from the input of the people who are doing this day in, day out. There's so many little nuances in retail that we all know about that are so easily missed if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, and just to broaden the conversation a little, because I know we have some fellow retailers on the panel with us. Melody, I know that clienteling is such a big part of your business, and as a boutique owner yourself, I was wondering your thoughts on clienteling and how you kind of approach it right now.
I am chomping on the bit to get on One Shop.
I mean,
Chomping on the bit. I would say, so we have currently, our means is a cell phone for the store. So in the past, we had our staff texting people on their phones, but what we found is on their day off, they weren't responding back, communications were being dropped. So about last year, this time, we got a cell phone exclusive for the store where whoever is working is sending out messages, taking it one step further and sending them videos. It has been tremendous. And every single day, clients come in because of a message that they received. So I can absolutely vouch for what Nick is saying, but also see where we could improve upon it as well. This whole 2 points of contact after the close. I'm like, wow, we're not doing that, right? So as much as we are doing, there's so much more that we're not doing. And even just looking at this picture of a face of a client and the last contact, right? The next contact, just looking at this and saying, okay, we're doing this. We're doing it decently, but wow, this could really take it to the next level. And I think that's what this whole webinar is about, is taking things to the next level so that you can crush it. And I'm just pretty excited to see this and to get my feet wet with it. So I think it's really true to my business as a retailer, but I can see how I could improve upon it greatly and get better results.
yeah.
Also
Can I
with
ask a
inventory
question?
too.
Can I ask a question of Nick in terms of analytics? I'm assuming that this is possible, but if you can look back over 3 months or 6 months of communication and see conversion and look at if the recommended is 2 touch, maybe for that store it's 3, maybe it's 1, or maybe layer on a segmentation that says, well, this group it's a 1 and this group it's 4. Is that possible with the data that you accumulate?
Yep, so it's actually our #1 ROI point is we showed our retailers what sales you're actually driving from your outreach, because traditionally it's been a data point that no one's had access to. You know, I know my store associates are texting, I know we're texting customers, I know we're emailing customers, but what is that actually driving for sales? So exactly as you say, Christine, we bring, you know, a nice analytics dashboard that shows how many customers converted in this many days, what channels were they converting in, what verbiage were you using, so you can sort of improve this message format.
That's
fantastic.
tremendous. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
I love
think
the segmentation that you get off of, like, for example, inventory. It's what we're going to be talking about next. You can look and see when you get a delivery of a new brand line, oh, which of my clients purchased this particular brand previously? And that's where you can start your communications right there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's where, like, I mean, Melody and I have been talking for a while about finding ways that we can partner together, because we're kind of 2 sides of the same coin in that sense. So we really, you know, I totally agree with what you're saying.
That's probably a perfect segue then to the next segment here. And well, Dane, I'll let you take this one as well.
Yeah, so, you know, we've already got a chance for Melody to jump in, but, you know, Melody is not only a boutique owner of Blessed Boutique in Palm Beach Gardens, but she is also the co-founder of Swap Retail. And, you know, I've had the pleasure of really learning a ton about Swap Retail over the past, you know, few months, and Melody and I have had a lot of conversations. So Melody, always excited to talk with you. So thanks for being here. So I think really, you know, just I'd love for you to just give everyone kind of that intro to Swap Retail and what specifically you're doing, because, you know, we all know that inventory is our biggest investment. And when you have non-productive inventory, it is just cash, your cash, just sitting there. And we all know how painful that could be for retailers. So how is Swap Retail kind of an innovative solution in this area?
Sure. So Swap Retail is a retailer to retailer marketplace. We partner with brands first and foremost, and then we make this service available to their authorized retailers so that they can keep their inventory relevant and turning exclusively between that brand's authorized retailers. So I used to be a sales rep back before I became a retailer, and I would help my retailers all the time because I realized that one of my retailers was sitting on something and the other one needed more of that product. So this goes past a decade ago. I'm sure some of you on this call remember me doing this for you, that I wanted you to have the best sell-through possible. And what I have here, your slow selling inventory is another retailer's urgent need. This is the truth. But the power is in the retailers working together and being on Swap Retail so that you can help one another with this exact situation. So I built this because as a retailer, I suddenly was the person who no one was helping me. I had a sale rack and nobody was helping me move those units to another retailer. I needed a special order and the brand didn't have it. Nobody was going to find the other retailer of that brand who had it available and get it to me. So this was built out of a need. So if you think about your store right now and you think about your sale rack, I want you to envision someone across the country who is calling their rep looking for that exact unit. Swap Retail is the bridge, and we've made this as easy as possible. So when we partner with brands, you don't have to go taking pictures or typing product data in. All you have to know is your SKU and the sizes you're sitting on, and then you can post your listing so that another retailer who needs that exact unit can go ahead and buy it from you if they need it for a special, or say it was a bestseller for them. They can request to swap with you so that you can get it out of your store and get something else in its place. So this is why Swap Retail. And last year we launched in January. In March, the world came to a pause. And this year we are seeing just a completely different mindset. We are seeing both brands and retailers wanting to be proactive and giving everyone the best opportunity to succeed. So this is how Swap Retail works. You can see here Swap Retail as the SR. And these hangers are your brands that you sell in store. These are your vendor relationships. And what happens is when your brands partner with Swap Retail, they give you the ability to work with one another so that you can optimize your inventory. I have to give a shout out to Go Silk. Beth, the CEO, she sat down with me 4 years ago when this was just an idea in my head and said, that makes sense. Why would I not give my retailers every opportunity to be successful? And that is what we have seen is brands that have partnered with Swap Retail over the last year are the brands who are looking for the advancing technology, the way that they can help everybody be lean and mean with their inventory, the way that they can help their retailers, but also help their sales reps. Think about when your sales rep, who's a road rep, they're driving all around the country and you're emailing them for an order that they don't have a unit of. They don't have time to call the other accounts and find it for you, but we do, and we want to. And so that's really the power of Swap Retail, but it only is effective as much as retailers participate. Because if you need that special, but the retailer who has it isn't on Swap Retail, we can't do as much as when we're all on this together. So that's what's really powerful. And also, what brands do you want on Swap Retail? Brand partnership is extremely important for us because we want to know that your distribution is protected. This is not a wild, wild west. The store down the street that's been wanting your brand for years is not going to be able to access them on Swap Retail. It is a platform exclusively for authorized retailers of our brand partners. So if you have a pain point in your store and you're looking at that sale rack and you know your brand cannot accommodate a swap, or you are losing special orders every single day for a product, let me know. These are the brands that need to be on. And we can do more when we work together, and we have built this to make it safe, easy, and efficient to do so.
Yeah, and Melody, I really love this because it gives such a community aspect, I think, to retail, especially as we saw in the pandemic. You know, a lot of vendors had trouble shipping. Obviously, everyone was dealing with different inventory, whether they were over inventory, under inventoried. So I think coming together as a retail community, this is a really incredible tool that can be in the tool belt of retailers. Now, I have to, of course, put in a little plug for Management One here because you are a Management One client. And I want you to talk a little bit about how you've kind of merged up those two systems to really work in unison to your benefit.
Absolutely. So I always thought that I was a good retailer before Management One. I said my numbers are increasing every year, go me. My product looks nice and shiny. And then I signed on with Management One and I got schooled. I realized how much I didn't know. And I love Management One. It is like eating breakfast for me now. I like to log in and get a pulse on the inventory and see what's going on. But what I've been able to do is see what's going on within my store by looking at the Management One data for my inventory levels and saying, okay, I'm overbought on outerwear. I'm currently underbought this month in knit tops. I cannot hit my numbers in knit tops if I don't bring more in. However, I have too much of this other product. So I've actually utilized Management One data and Swap Retail by listing my outerwear of my partnered brands that I can on Swap Retail and requesting swaps with retailers of the same brand who have more of the kind of items that I need. And so this has been a really cool way for me to say, wow, this is really convenient to say, wow, okay, I need less of this, I need more of this. Who's got it? Let me pay with my inventory instead of money and get merchandise out that I don't need and in that I do need. So it's been pretty amazing. The other thing is with Management One's influence, they're encouraging me to be a lot more proactive with my inventory. Whereas before I would say, okay, I'm still gonna give that style a chance. It's been 30 days, but I'm gonna give it 30 more. I now know that that is not gonna get me to the 4 turns a year that I am trying for. And I've made peace with it. So now after my goods have been in store 30 days, if they're not selling, I'm getting them listed on Swap Retail. I'm going back to my reports. I'm seeing what I need more of. I'm requesting swaps or even just selling it off. If another retailer needs what I have available and it's not moving for me, let me get my cash flow out of it and let me use that towards my next buy. And so I'm using the data really hand in hand in a way that I didn't even expect. And I just love it. And also just working with Management One and them saying, okay, well, if you're taking product out because you did a swap with another retailer, okay, just so you all know, you Management One clients, you do an RTV to Swap Retail, because you're not sending it back to the vendor, but you are sending it to another retailer who actually needs it, and it won't mess up your data. So if you're wondering how that goes down, Management One has a solution for that too. But it's been absolutely amazing to see my turns as a retailer go up. I literally went from 2 turns a year to 3 turns a year in the last 5 months using my Management One hand in hand with Swap Retail. And I think that's really powerful. And I would like to help more of you do that.
Yeah, and what I love.
Sorry, Dane. I'm sorry to jump in there. And Melody, just quick question on how do you match themed businesses, that have the same inventory as you and trying to actually do that swap? Like, how do you find them?
So Swap Retail is a marketplace. So when a retailer is authorized for Vince is on our platform, they have an account on Swap Retail that was created on their behalf because they are a reseller of Vince. They are able to log into their account and they are able to see what all the other Vince retailers have currently listed. It's anonymous. You don't see anyone's name. You just see the product and the sizes available. And if it interests you, you can either buy it or request a swap. So think of it the way you go and shop on Amazon, the way you shop on Poshmark, the way you shop on eBay, except for this is retailer to retailer marketplace, only authorized retailers of the partner brand. So if you don't sell Vince, but you sell Go Silk, you will log in, you will see Go Silk. You will not see Vince because you don't sell it. But if you sell Vince and Go Silk, you will log in and see both. So each retailer account is custom to their store and shows the brands that they are authorized to sell that we are partnered with.
Perfect. Thank you.
I think what I love the most about it is it really playing on the theme of community. Everything that we do here at Management One is all about the retail community, and this is building its own community within the inventory and brand section. So I think that's actually a good segue to our next segment here, which is focusing on local, because as I mentioned at the beginning of this, independent retailers have not only a much stronger connection with customers, but they have a much stronger connection with their local communities than the big box stores. So I wanted to look at a couple of solutions here, and that's why we asked Christine Russo to be on board with this, because Christine, you did an interview about a month, maybe 2 months back with Near Street. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about their solution and other solutions like it. There are a couple of folks that are focused on this idea of local search. Oh, I think Christine froze up on us. Yep, I will take this one for right now. So the idea of local search, when you look at 2020, I have the statistic up here, the searches that were going out that had near me in them grew more than 28%. So people have this idea, and Christine actually mentioned this to me yesterday, the idea of near me is pretty much ingrained in search now. People want to find something that is close to them. And there's a couple of technologies out there I have listed up here, Sidewalk, and I was hoping to have Lizzie Lee, the CEO of Sidewalk, on our show today, but we'll get her on one coming up soon. Essentially what both of these platforms do, and they do it in a slightly different way, is when you list something on your store, you have, for example, Melody was talking about knit tops. Somebody's looking for a knit top, instead of just getting an Amazon listing or some big box store that might be near them, you have the ability of putting your inventory in front of people. So instead of driving to a big box store near you, it'll pop up as, oh, the mom and pop store that's 2 miles away also has that knit top. Christine, are you back with us? Oh, I don't have audio for you.
I'm back. Hey.
Hey, there we are.
Fabulous.
Hey. Hey.
I ran through a little bit of what Near Street does, but you actually sat down with the folks, and I would love to get your take on what they're trying to grow.
I sure did. And it was really fascinating. They're sort of one of a kind in the space, like Swap Retail is and like One Shop. These guys are a great solution for just, if you want to think of it this way, getting found on your phone. You're out and about, you've got your phone in your hand and you're like, oh yeah, I needed to get whatever, just Google search. And when you're connected through their platform, not your store will come up first, the product comes up. So it's search by product. And then the product has a location. So if they're close to you, your product will come up and the location will be yours. This is such a backdoor way to have an e-com/digital presence without even building a website. You click with them, you're now online. They see all of your inventory, you're now online. So what happens next? Well, you own a store. So, these people are familiar with shopping your brick and mortar. They're gonna call you because that's what they used to do. People are programmed still to do that. Yes, there's been change, but people still call stores to check if they have stuff, or they go in. And now certainly that we're nearing the end of social distancing, et cetera, they're more likely to just go in versus call. But people will call to see if we all have been, where it's like inventory shows it's there, but it's not. But there's been so much improvement in terms of accurate reporting through all of the different technology platforms out there that they tap into. So it really is a very simplified way to have a digital presence by your inventory. So just one more further comment. So in other words, if they search a brand and you're on their platform, rather than going to the brand's website or some online multi-brand website, your product has just as much capability to come up. If you're wondering about when those big brands pay for ads, this is as competitive as ad-placed search.
And that's actually a good, when we talk about showing up in search, one of the things that we've mentioned to a lot of our clients, when you have your website listed and you have the address, come visit my store, a lot of folks are still pushing people just to that specific address. And we've touched on, in a few webinars before this, really leveraging your Google business listing. It's a free tool by Google, and it has so many robust services that you can list. It has your reviews, it has revised hours of operation, but I put it here as an inventory solution because you also have the ability of adding as many photos as you want to your store. So when somebody's looking and you pop up that you're 2 miles away from their location, have some new inventory shots on your listing. Give them something to scroll through. It's, as Christine said before, it's like another free website for your store that you don't have to manage as intensely as your own website. But we are running a little bit behind time. What was that?
Okay, I just want to add one thing is, Google pretty much across the board wrote closed or temporary closed to most businesses, and they're not necessarily taking that off. That's your job. So when you go Google My Business, like you recommended, you're going to want to really get in there and say, we're open, and put your accurate hours in there and do that consistently.
Absolutely. So I wanted to switch a little bit. We're going to stay on the inventory vein, but I wanted to talk to Jody from Scafos.ai, because even though I have this listed as an inventory solution, it's really a lot more than that. It's a full-blown marketing platform that lives right on top of the existing website. So Jody, thanks for joining us. I would love to have you talk about what Scafos can do.
Yeah, well, thank you, Nico. And yeah, at Scafos AI, I mean, quite simply, we are modernizing the way people shop online. You know, a big challenge with online shopping is that, you know, shops are architected according to how merchandisers sell, you know, which is historically, you know, a very cold and very transactional type of buying experience, you know, versus an engaged or, you know, an engaging shopping experience that you see in the brick and mortar. And, you know, I spent the last 5 years working side by side with major retailers on like a lot of their personalization efforts. And in the data, I mean, we found that customers were bouncing. You know, a lot of them felt overwhelmed with the category and filter taxonomies. And they are quite honestly underwhelmed by the rigid and irrelevant search filters and recommenders that are out there. So this impersonal hit or miss experiences can really, you know, negatively impact a retailer's conversion rate and even loyalty from their customers. So at Scafos AI, I mean, we have developed the world's first AI-driven interactive product discovery platform for online stores that guide shoppers to find products they see quickly and, to Nick's point and previous, you know, and authentically, just like an in-store sales assistant. So just a little bit on how the product works. It looks like, oh, we might be having a little slide problem there. But I'll try to talk about it in you know, hypothetically here. But the way the product works is, you know, you would embed like a discover your style widget, you know, on maybe like the home page of your site or on one of your category pages, with the goal being to showcase either the breadth of your entire catalog or the depth of a larger category. And within that widget, you can probably see like the thumbs up and the thumbs down there. You know, shoppers either like or dislike various products that are in the widget assortment. And based on a visually similar and contextual algorithms, our AI technology processes the intentions of the shopper in real time to quickly guide them to find the most relevant products, all within just a few clicks. So that's, you know, essentially how it works.
That binary relationship that you guys really tapped into. I either like it or I don't. And if they don't like it, you don't want them leaving the site. So you want to quickly swap in a new product, which I love. You guys have found a way to really get that immediacy to product search and relevancy.
Yeah, and it's similar to like when they go into your store, right? There's a sales associate that basically says, yeah, you know, I understand you don't like this, you do like this, and they can find those products very quickly for them and really personalize that experience. And
as I was looking at the platform, it really reminded me, it was almost like Tinder for shopping. You're either swiping right or left, and you finally find that one that you like.
Yes, we have heard that. And incidentally, I mean, there's tons of fashion aggregator sites, you know, such as the Meta app or the Yes app, where they are doing this across, you know, where it's the Tinder or they're doing the Yes Nos to really bring that authentic shopping experience online. But yeah, in terms of a little bit about just our platform in general, everything is centered around the interactive product discovery platform. And, you know, if we focus on really our marquee product, which is off to the upper left-hand side there, is our interactive product finder. And what I was describing, like how it works, where it just, you know, it's a widget kind of tile app, if you will, and they like and dislike different products. And those apps are flipping to essentially show and find relevant product and ultimately move towards a recommendation, just like an in-store sales associate. And then off to the right there, we have the interactive cross-seller. And essentially what that is if they have purchased in the past or are purchasing at that moment in time a certain product, let's just say it's a blue dress with polka dots, and you know, you would be presented a complementary items such as maybe shoes or accessories or a scarf that match that particular. And if they don't like that, you know, sometimes some of this like force feeding a style on someone that's not exactly what they want, Now you're giving them that flexibility to find what they want, ultimately increasing average order value and basket size. And as we move down towards the in-store clienteling, essentially, we've heard a lot of it today, where the sales assistants have a mobile or a tablet, and essentially we're putting the interactive product finder experience with the sales associate. It's in their hands, and they're able to take inputs from the customer, and they can click yes, no, and ultimately find product very quickly for the customer based on those inputs. But also they can import that data maybe to something like Nick's solution with One Shop, and move that into the CRM to say, what, this is, we know their affinities and what they like, and they can then follow up with other things, other products that they might want to follow up on, or say, we know you purchased these, you could use a tactic of an email where you're sending the interactive landing page of areas that they can buy complementary items to the things that they've already purchased. So this is a really powerful tool for in-store clienteling. And then in terms of the analytics, that's a very powerful aspect of our platform as well, where they can predict with product sentiment and really help you think about what merchandising you should boost, what you should bury, and even enhance your strategic remarketing campaigns. And in terms of so I think this is a great slide that sort of shows a snapshot of not only some fantastic brands that we're working with, such as Lights Online, Rugs USA, Morin Giles, Chic Soul. But with these brands, we are increasing conversions as high as 165%. It's essentially, we really focus on pages that have high traffic but low conversion, and we put our interactive product finder or one of our interactive product discovery tools there, and it has boosted conversions tremendously. And also, incidentally, exciting news for us is that we're launching our interactive product finder app on Shopify in a few weeks, and we have a Shopify. So if you have a Shopify store, and you're interested in our early access program, where you can get perks such as like a 30-day free trial or monthly price discounts, please sign up at the link below before the end of the month, and you can be one of the first on Shopify, that is, to get our app. And it's reasonably priced right now on the program, and you'll have a high-end AI-driven technology on your site.
So the two things that I love the most about this are, number one, the easy install, because people think of AI and they're like, oh God, this is not for me. This is going to be way too complicated. So I love the easy install. And the second thing, to Melody's point earlier, is she looks at Retail Orbit to really get the information on which products are moving. But with Scafos, you really get that added layer of demand, and which products are getting the thumbs down from people in real time. So for Melody, that would be something easily for her to just say, all right, this is like the 12th thumbs down on this dress, time to go.
Yeah, that's a great point. The dislikes and managing that, we also, in our reporting, we have a product sentiment index that you can take a look at, but our retailers are using the thumbs down like in their inventory management, and also how they manage things on the site, such as boost and bury.
I can also imagine that would be great from a buyer's perspective to see if you're having a strong number of thumbs up and you're looking at what you're going to do moving forward. That would be so tremendous to know, even if they're not ultimately buying, to just know where the interest lies. I could see that being really a huge asset.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I wanted to move forward because we are getting close to the end here, just to touch briefly on the next topic, which is payment and conversion. So we've done all of our clienteling, we've reached out to folks, we've put the merchandise where it needs to be, and then somebody goes to pay and you get friction in the actual conversion. So how can we reduce friction? One of the easiest things that people are doing right now is just expanding the payment options. If you aren't accepting all major credit cards, that should just be a baseline. But now people, for the last 10 to 12 months, have been sitting on these digital wallets. and passing money back and forth on PayPal and Venmo, Google Pay, it's worth looking into, and I'll just touch on it briefly. It's worth looking into putting that on your website and also in store. Touchless payment options are going to be huge if they haven't already exploded in 2020. The other thing is expanding the terms of the payment. So when you think of when people actually purchase, and I wanted to go back to Christine on this because you also reached out and interviewed the folks at Purple Dot. So I wanted you to touch briefly on exactly how Purple Dot is expanding the terms of payment and conversion.
Okay, actually, I think it segues perfectly to what Jody was saying. So, and sentiment. So you can use Purple Dot in two ways. You can use it as a pre-launch, and if you're a management one client like Melody is, and you're following the rules like Melody does, and she's going in and looking at her numbers, and she knows that her reports are telling her that in 6 weeks she needs more of X. She's going to find the money. She's going to get out of some inventory to find the money, and she's done the great work of finding those sources that will be able to supply her in 6 weeks versus 6 months, because every retailer needs a good handful of those people. Well, before you get to thumbs up, thumbs down, because at that point you own the inventory, you can use Purple Dot and do a pre-sale launch of something that you know that you're a good vendor that can supply you in 6 weeks. You can put that information out there. You can use their photo. You can put it out there and you can say pre-sale. You don't even have to include a discount on it. Right there, they're buying because you're very clearly communicating that this is not here yet. You have to wait till this time. They're buying it. Then you don't have to guess. You know exactly what the demand is, and maybe you increase it a little bit. You find that money, and your great source, your great wholesaler is able to supply you, and you've got one-to-one sales. You're really controlling that markdown calendar 12 weeks from now. So that's one way, and it's a great way to manage inventory, get the crystal ball that Management One is so known for, use sentiment like Jody's Scaphos has, and really tap into that feedback loop. The second way that you can use Purple Dot as far as looping into a payment, but really just managing your inventory in season. So you can see, just like Melody said, oh no, it's not moving. Okay, I still have my full price customers. I still think I'm going to sell X% of this, but I know that I'm heading into a markdown. I'm going to right now offer it at less than what that markdown will be, maybe half. I'm going to mark it down 40% in 30 days. I'll mark it down at 20% right now, and I'll send it out in 2 ways. You can get it now, or you can wait 3 weeks and pay 20% less, then, or 2 weeks. Then at the end of the 30 days, all bets are off. You pull the Purple Dot pricing off, and then you do your regular aggressive markdowns to kind of keep that Management One inventory numbers flowing the way you should. So Purple Dot is a lever, a tool to layer on, and it's all through the lens of what Management One does and what everyone else here does, which is really trying to thread the needle to get the right product to the right person at the right price at the right time.
Absolutely, and if you do sell out of that product and you know you're going to reorder, I love the fact that Purple Dot lets folks purchase before you even get that next round of inventory.
Absolutely.
So let's talk more about expanding payment terms, because the buy now, pay later, I know this is a retail innovation session. The idea of buy now, pay later is nothing innovative, but in the digital era, it's gotten a huge resurgence in the last year from companies like Sezzle and Afterpay, PayPal credits. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the buy now, pay later format. And Christine, I know we talked about this yesterday because Sezzle and Afterpay they've already adopted an in-store model for this. It's mainly online, but just briefly talk about the buy now, pay later concept digitally.
So what buy now, pay later does, and it really loops into everyone's strengths here on this call, is it expands your customer base. So you may have a product that the price point is something it's not your normal customer. Well, your mission is to expand the customer. You're reaching out to them through one shop, and you're saying you can get this in 4 payments, and it's really rote now. If you have a digital presence, if you have a website, you're really you need to have it because the newness of it has been broken. You know, it's like customers sort of expect it now. So that's really kind of a way to rejigger is the word, your customer segmentation. You can expand. Being digital and having these payment options will bring in a different cohort of customers.
And Christine, I think you hit on something really important there, that as these bigger retailers, obviously are innovating rapidly online, it changes the customer's perceptions of what is acceptable and what their expectations are. So something like an Afterpay or an Affirm, a lot of customers are now getting used to it, where it becomes an expectation. So the fact that there are resources out there for independent retailers to kind of keep up on this without completely blowing their budget, or without having to have a whole technology department implanted into their smaller independent retail store is a really big leg up, and allows us to compete in the marketplace.
Christine, which of these 6 options here would you suggest as the easiest to plug and play as a specialty store? Because when I look at 6, I'm like, 6 things, but I'm sure you've done your homework.
I don't know QuadPay. It is commoditized now. You're buying a light bulb. Don't sweat it. They all plug in through Shopify. Okay. They cost the same. You want to get the one that has like the customer service where you can call. Okay. They didn't start with that. It was only, email us and we'll email you back in 48 hours. Two of them are public. I don't know, that might skew me over to kind of thinking they have more of an infrastructure. So I get better customer service. When something's commoditized, the only differential outside of price, but that's already being taken care of by competition, is the service.
And they're both
I like Sezzle and
easily.
Affirm.
Yeah, Sezzle and Afterpay are probably the most well-known if you want to narrow it down to 2.
Well, Affirm went public, so if you want to vet 3, then I would throw that one in the mix.
So let's talk about really quickly a retail experience thing. We've been talking about QR codes since March 2020, and it's still one of my favorite tools for fusing. If you're looking at an independent retailer that has a small store and a small budget, and you want to fuse that digital and retail experience, a QR code is still going to be your best bet. If you're looking at in-store signage linking to enhanced online content, or maybe a cashless purchase, you're out of stock on a particular item, but you want them to get a little more content about that item, a QR code is still going to be the easiest way for you to do that. And they've advanced a little bit now in the last 2 years, I would say. Now you can actually get your own branded custom QR code. So it's not just this very stale black and white. You can customize it, you can add your own colors. What I love about it is it's as easy as just having a label maker. I mean, you can pop these on every product in your store, you can pop them on the outdoor signage, and it gives you that trackable data on what people are looking at, and it's also giving them the content that they're looking for. The final thing I'll touch on.
By the way, it only took a global pandemic for QR codes to finally get picked up by people. So.
Right.
And Bodie Miller. And Bodie Miller, the skier who invented Flow Code. But I would say that one of the most unique and fun ways, because I think I mentioned before, post-purchase is getting a lot of attention finally. But if you slap a QR code inside the package or on the box, and it opens up to like some sort of GIF, I'm old, I don't know how do you say it, but some sort of like fireworks and a big thank you. I think those things really make a big difference.
Absolutely. Anytime you can add a little layer of content and a little extra experience onto it, especially like you said with in-package, if people are doing e-com and they're not having that person-to-person relationship, handing the bag across the cash wrap, how are you going to continue that relationship? And a QR code is a great way of fusing your digital experience with the static experience.
Just one other thing. You could have the QR code linked to a video, and it could be one of your staff. You just have to film each one going, "Hi, I packaged I packaged this for you. It was so great. My name is," and really fusing the brick and mortar and the personal interaction with something that's strictly digital.
And to all of you out there who have never scanned a QR code, because I just did it last month for the first time in my life, All you do is open up your camera. Guys, like co-founder of Swap Retail, first time with the QR code. But literally, you just open up your camera, hold it up to it, and it'll say open, and then it'll give you the website address and it'll open up. So you don't even have to download something. You literally just open up your camera and put it up to it.
Yeah, and
And you
most
can thank the
people
folks
are,
at Apple for that.
yeah, that's right. I was just about to say that, Nico, that most people are actually getting, very well trained on doing this, because when they're going out to eat in an outdoor space now amid COVID, they're looking at menus that way. So everyone's
Absolutely.
getting trained to do this. It's a behavior.
QR codes they're definitely not new, but like Melody just said, way back when they first came out, it was cumbersome. You had to download a specific app and it just ruined the whole experience. And they started really falling out of favor with folks. And finally, Apple and Samsung and most of the smartphone makers got smart and just said, we're just going to make this part of the camera. You don't even have to do anything. Just hold your camera over it and let us take the wheel.
Yeah.
So the final thing I wanted to touch on, because we are over time a little bit, is mobile pop-ups. We've seen a few of our clients really embrace the idea of, okay, my store is closed. I'm just going to buy or rent a truck and create our own experience and take the product to the customer. So I really just wanted to touch quickly on the idea of the mobile pop-up as being a new retail experience, that if you have the means to do so, and again, going back to the idea of collaboration and community, pair up with some of the other stores that are on your street. And if they're selling like products or something similar, pair up and create your own environment in a shared parking space, or there's going to be an event in your community. Roll the mobile experience up to them. It doesn't even have to be a full-blown truck, but somehow find a way to take the product to the customer if the customer isn't coming to you.
And Nico, just to add on top of that, even with spring coming and the weather obviously turning for a lot of us, even just bringing some racks onto the sidewalk, a tent sale outside, even those kind of simple things, they may not be digital innovations, but just that change in thought process and letting the customer shop outside and creating some excitement. These are the differentiators that I think are really allowing people to kind of, give a little bit of a fresh new shopping experience to their customers. And we've been seeing a lot of success with that. So.
Absolutely. So I wanted to touch on a couple of questions because we're a few minutes over time, and I appreciate the panel staying on a couple extra minutes here. We do have some questions. The first one for Nick here, One-Shop. Does One-Shop sync with any and all POS systems? There's a lot of POS systems out there.
So we believe that we sync with the ones that cover the majority of the current retail environment. So we have we were launching a POS integration roughly every 2 weeks at this point. So we have 12 or 13 major POSs. You can check our website or email me to talk about if we're integrated with yours. But we are currently expanding that as need comes to get as far as we can. And we do have a self-serve non-POS integrated option as well.
Excellent. Melody, this one's actually for Swap Retail. And does it work for shoe stores?
So if we are partnered with your shoe vendor, yes. So if you sell Ilse Jacobson, that is our first shoe vendor on Swap Retail. Absolutely. Email me. I'll make sure you get logged into your account. If you have another shoe vendor that you would like to see on Swap Retail as well, just email me. I can connect them with our brand team and we can work on getting them onboarded. But since brand partnership comes first, I need to hear who you want on so that we can reach out to them to make it happen.
Excellent. Cindy was asking if there's a QR app that's actually better. I would actually just steer away from getting any kind of a QR app, because anything that you do to cause friction to that experience is just going to turn the customer away from it. I think the fact that QR codes sync so well with your camera right now, doing nothing, if you try to layer an app on top of that, I think you're going to be in trouble there. But Christine, actually, you mentioned flow codes. So talk a little bit about that one.
So if you're asking about an app because you're looking at if your question is how do I create a QR code, if you go to Flowcode, it's the most graphically kind of user-friendly, pretty, evolving. They have lots and lots of features. As I mentioned, it's co-founded by Bodie Miller, the skier, because that makes a lot of sense that he founded a QR company. But it is there and it is fun, and you can pick your colors and you can do branding, and they really are riding this wave, and it's a really fun place. So it's Flowcode with a W, FLOWCODE.
Absolutely. Let's see, we have a question here from Neil. Do buy now, pay later apps or companies, do they take a bigger percentage than the normal Visa and MasterCard companies? That's something that you'll have to look into the specific company. They don't charge interest on the payments. That is one thing that they don't do, which is good to the customer. There are late fees involved, but again, with all of the companies that I put up there, they all have a slightly different business model. So I would suggest doing a little research on the specific one that's going to work for you.
Just a little bit about that is you're getting 4 payments no matter what from them. They take on the sort of non-pay credit risk directly with the client. They're pre-qualifying the client. That is not your risk to bear.
And you're getting, that's what I love about it. You're getting that guaranteed payment, and they're having to deal with the chase around.
Yes.
Easy question, actually, from Bill Coleman. Where do we get email addresses? So I'm going to be sending a follow-up email after this to all of the attendees. And with your permission, panelists, I'd love to include an email address to tackle some of the more technical questions that I do see in here, because I think a couple of these we're going to get a little bit into the weeds on a particular service. So I would love to just have them go one-on-one and see exactly what works with their particular store. And that being said, we are a little bit over time. A couple of these extra questions I will hand out, a couple to Nick, a couple to Melody, about your specific platforms. But I just want to thank all of you so much for participating, and all of our attendees here as well. We did go a little bit over, but the idea of retail innovation is something that is going to be huge in 2021. And I love the fact that Nick, you're tackling this every week in Clubhouse. Clubhouse itself is a retail innovation. So I'm going to be joining you guys again on that one. I think today, I believe I'll probably be hopping in on there. But I wanted to thank Jody and Melody, Christine and Dane, and Nick as well for joining us today. And we will be tackling another topic next month. And we look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.